Hi, I'm Alex. Human civilization exists for only a microscopic moment in Earth's deep timeline. The planet constantly destroys its own past through erosion tectonics and time. That means entire civilizations could rise, collapse, and vanish without a trace. So are we really the first? If journeys like this spark your curiosity, a gentle subscribe helps this channel keep growing. Now let's begin. In 2018, two NASA scientists published a research paper that sent shockwaves through the academic community. Then, almost immediately, they distanced themselves from their own conclusions. Why would respected scientists back away from their own work? Meet Adam Frank, an astrophysicist from the University of Rochester, and Gavin Schmidt from NASA's Goddard Institute for Space Studies. These weren't fringe researchers or conspiracy theorists. These were mainstream scientists publishing in the International Journal of Astrobiology. Their paper asked a question that most scientists had never dared to ask. If an industrial civilization had existed on Earth millions of years before us, would we even know? They called it the Silurian Hypothesis. Not because they believed ancient reptiles built cities, but because they wanted to understand the limits of what we can actually detect in the geological record. Here's the shocking truth that hit me like a freight train. 99.998% of Earth's history happened before humans showed up. Let that sink in. We think we know this planet, but we've only witnessed a microscopic fraction of its story. Want your mind blown? Let's do some math. Take Earth's entire 4.5 billion year history and compress it into a single 24-hour day. You know, when our industrial civilization appears at 0.2 seconds before midnight. Not even a full blink, a fraction of a moment. But here's where it gets truly disturbing. Paleontologists estimate we have fossils from only 0.01% of all species that ever lived on this planet. That means 99.99% of everything that ever walked, crawled, swam, or flew on Earth has vanished completely. No trace, no evidence. Just gone. Think about that for a second. Dinosaurs dominated this planet for 150 million years. 150 million years. We've found maybe a few thousand complete skeletons from 150 million years of reign. So here's the question that should keep you up at night. If we're missing 99.99% of biological history, what else are we missing? What else has been completely erased from the record? It's like trying to understand Egyptian civilization, but you're only allowed to see 0.01% of the pyramids. Actually, scratch that. The pyramids are gone too. That's more accurate. You might be thinking this sounds crazy, but here's what makes it terrifying. In 2024, scientists drilling ice cores from Baffin Bay near Greenland found something. Metallic debris. Microspherules. Signatures that match exactly what you'd expect from a cosmic impact at a very specific time period. The same time period that paper from 2018 had flagged as suspicious. They had to revisit that paper. They had to ask the question again, and the answer they found wasn't comforting. Let's talk about the problem with deep time. Human brains aren't built to understand it. We evolved to think in days, seasons, maybe a few generations, not millions of years, definitely not billions. Here's something that breaks most people's brains. A Tyrannosaurus rex lived closer in time to you than to a Stegosaurus. Read that again. T-Rex and Stegosaurus are both dinosaurs in our minds, but they were separated by more time than separates us from T-Rex. Let that sink in for a moment. Now here's the truly shocking statistic. Only 3% of Earth's current surface is older than 1 million years. 3%. That means 97% of everything we walk on, build on, live on, has been completely replaced, recycled, or erased in just the last million years. The Earth isn't a museum. It's a recycling plant running 24/7 for billions of years. Let's put this in perspective with things we know. Manhattan, with all its steel and concrete, would vanish completely in 50,000 years. The pyramids of Egypt may be 500,000 years before they're dust. Mount Everest, the tallest mountain on the planet, give it 50 million years, and it'll be gone, ground down by erosion and tectonic forces. Now here's the bombshell. If an industrial civilization existed 50 million years ago, during the age of early mammals or even late dinosaurs, there would be nothing left. Zero. Not a single building, not a single tool, not a single recognizable artifact. Everything would be gone. So, how do you find something when you don't even know what you're looking for? How do you see the invisible? How do you detect the completely erased? It's like asking a blind person to describe a color they've never seen. We're not equipped for this kind of investigation because we've never had to think this way before. Now, before you think this is some alien conspiracy theory or ancient astronaut nonsense, let me be crystal clear. This video isn't about little green men or secret government cover-ups. This is about the fundamental limits of human knowledge, and honestly, that's scarier than any conspiracy theory, because conspiracy theories give you something to fight against. This is just the cold, hard truth that we might never know, that the past might be permanently locked away from us. But here's the thing. If they did leave traces, what would those traces look like? Let's run a thought experiment. Right now, at this very moment, every human being vanishes, gone. No war, no plague, no explanation. We just stop existing. What happens to everything we've built? What remains after 100 million years? This isn't science fiction. This is forensic geology. This is understanding what persists and what disappears. First 100 years, every wooden structure collapses. Houses, barns, telephone poles. Wood rots, termites feast. Weather breaks it down. Within a century, anything made of wood is rubble. Move forward to 1,000 years. The Eiffel Tower rust. The Statue of Liberty. Oxidized copper dust scattered by wind. Steel corrodes, iron crumbles. Everything made of metal that isn't buried or protected starts breaking apart at the molecular level. The proud monuments of human achievement become stains in the soil. Jump to 10,000 years. The Hoover Dam cracks and fails. Highways buckle and sink into shifting ground. Concrete, which seems eternal to us, degrades. Water seeps into microscopic cracks, freezes, expands, breaks it apart. Even our most massive structures, the things we built to last forever, surrender to time. Everything above ground gone. Now the really disturbing part, 1 million years out. What's left? Radioactive isotopes from nuclear weapons testing. And microplastics? That's it. That's what remains of human civilization. Not the Sistine Chapel, not the Great Wall of China, not Shakespeare or Einstein or the moon landing. Just radiation signatures and microscopic pieces of plastic bottles scattered through sediment layers. Here's the shocking revelation. The most durable traces of our civilization aren't the pyramids or great works of art. They're nuclear bombs and plastic bags. The trash, the waste. The things we're ashamed of are the things that will outlast everything else. But there's something else that persists. Something that might be even more important than physical artifacts. Carbon isotope signatures. When we burn fossil fuels, coal, oil, natural gas, we're releasing carbon that's been locked underground for millions of years. This ancient carbon has a distinctive fingerprint. It's depleted in carbon-13 compared to atmospheric carbon. This signature gets absorbed by oceans locked into marine sediments, preserved in rock layers. It's an indelible mark, a chemical signature that says, something burned massive amounts of organic carbon here. It's like a fingerprint that can't be wiped away. Scientists can detect this signature in ice cores and sediment samples. They can see exactly when the Industrial Revolution began just by looking at the carbon isotope ratios. The change is unmistakable. So here's the breakthrough question. What if we found this exact same signature 56 million years ago? What if the geological record showed a massive rapid carbon release with the same isotope depletion pattern that we're creating right now? Would we recognize it as evidence of an industrial civilization? Or would we assume it was natural plot twist? The greatest legacy of humanity might not be our art, our literature, our music, or our scientific discoveries. It might be nuclear waste and plastic bottles buried in sediment. Shakespeare is crying somewhere. Actually, Shakespeare is dust. But you get the point? The irony is almost too perfect. We spend our lives trying to create meaning, beauty, knowledge. We build museums and libraries. We preserve art and history. And what actually survives? The trash we threw away without thinking. Our masterpieces decay in centuries. Our garbage lasts for millions of years. But here's where this gets really interesting. That carbon signature I mentioned, that chemical fingerprint of massive fossil fuel burning, that distinctive isotope ratio that can't be faked. Guess what? We've already found it. Not from our time. From 56 million years ago. And nobody can fully explain it. Earth isn't the blue marble we like to imagine. It's not a peaceful, stable museum preserving the past. Earth is an automated memory erasing machine that's been running nonstop for 4.5 billion years. Let's start with the ocean floor. Right now, as you read this, the oceanic crust is moving. Not fast by human standards, just a few centimeters per year. But it's moving. And here's the bombshell. 100% of the ocean floor, older than 200 million years, has been swallowed back into the Earth's mantle. All of it. Gone, melted, recycled. Think about that. The ocean covers 70% of Earth's surface. That's the majority of the planet. And every single bit of ocean floor gets completely destroyed and replaced every 200 million years like clockwork. Here's the horrifying visual. Every year, an area roughly the size of California gets pulled down into subduction zones, dragged beneath continental plates, heated to melting point, and recycled into magma. The Earth is literally eating itself and reforming continuously. Anything that was on that ocean floor, any evidence, any artifacts, any chemical signatures, gets pulled down and obliterated, not buried, not hidden, destroyed at the molecular level. On land, we have erosion. The Grand Canyon took about 6 million years to form. 6 million years to carve through a mile of rock. That sounds like a long time to us. But on geological timescales, that's a blink. That's nothing. The Earth can erase an entire mountain range in what amounts to a geological instant. Rain falls, rivers flow, wind blows, ice expands and contracts. Every single day, mountains get smaller, valleys get deeper, rock becomes sand, becomes silt, becomes mud. And then that sediment gets washed into the ocean, where it either settles on the ocean floor or gets subducted and melted. Nothing on the surface is permanent. Nothing. Here's the shocking comparison. Mars and the Moon preserve everything for billions of years. Features on Mars are 3 billion years old and still clearly visible. The Moon has craters that are nearly as old as the solar system itself. Why? Because they're geologically dead, no plate tectonics, minimal erosion, no atmosphere to speak of. But Earth erases everything in a few million years. Maybe tens of millions if you're really lucky with preservation. The price we pay for being alive, for having a dynamic planet that can support life, is that the planet constantly destroys its own history. So here's the haunting question. If the evidence isn't on Earth, where is it? And this is where the story gets really strange, because there is one place that Earth can't erase. One place where evidence could survive for billions of years, perfectly preserved, waiting to be found. But before we talk about that, we need to discuss an event that happened 56 million years ago. An event that still puzzles scientists. An event that has a signature that looks disturbingly familiar. 56 million years ago, Earth's temperature spiked by 8 degrees Celsius in roughly 20,000 years. The oceans boiled. The Arctic reached 23 degrees Celsius tropical temperatures at the North Pole. Species died in massive numbers, and the cause unknown. This is called the Paleocene-Eocene thermal maximum, or PETM. It's the most mysterious event in geological history, and here's why it should terrify you. The carbon spike from the PETM looks exactly like what we're doing right now. Not similar, not kind of the same, exactly the same pattern. When scientists analyze sediment cores from this period, they find a massive injection of carbon into the atmosphere. And here's the bombshell. This carbon is depleted in carbon-13. That's the signature of organic carbon being burned or released. That's the fingerprint of fossil fuel combustion. The official explanation: volcanoes. Massive volcanic eruptions in the North Atlantic released carbon dioxide, which triggered warming, which released methane from ocean floor deposits, which caused more warming, a runaway feedback loop, natural causes, case closed. But here's the problem. Volcanic carbon doesn't match the PM signature perfectly. Volcanic eruptions release carbon with different isotope ratios. The PETM carbon looks more like organic carbon-carbon from living things, carbon that's been buried and concentrated. Carbon like coal, like oil, like natural gas. The methane hydrate hypothesis tries to bridge this gap. Maybe warming from volcanoes triggered the release of frozen methane from the ocean floor. Methane from ancient organic matter. That would create the right isotope signature. But what triggered it? What started the warming in the first place? And why did it happen so fast? Scientists still debate these questions. The answers aren't clear. The evidence is complicated. But everyone agrees on one thing. Something massive happened. Something that fundamentally changed the planet's climate in a geological instant. Now here's the earth-shattering question. If we found this exact signature today, in modern sediments, what would we call it? What would we say caused a massive release of organic carbon with isotope ratios indicating fossil fuel burning? That's right. We'd call it the Industrial Revolution. Plot twist number 2. Maybe we're not causing the first climate catastrophe. Maybe we're just causing the latest one. Maybe this has happened before. Maybe intelligent industrial civilizations rise, burn through their planet's carbon reserves, trigger runaway warming, and collapse. Over and over. And the geological record can't tell them apart from natural events. Shakespeare's still crying, by the way. So is every scientist who wants to believe we're special. But here's what really keeps me up at night. The PTM isn't the only suspicious event. There's another one. Much closer to us in time, just 800 years ago. And this time, there were people. People who witnessed it, people who survived it, people who tried to tell us what happened. We just stopped listening. 800 years ago, there was a day when everything changed. Temperature dropped 14 degrees Celsius in a matter of months. We know this happened. We just don't know why. The ice core data from Greenland is undeniable. Scientists can read it like a thermometer frozen in time. The temperature record is right there, preserved in layers of ancient ice. One layer shows a warming world, ice sheets melting, life expanding. The next layer, just centimeters above, shows catastrophic cold. The transition between them represents months, maybe weeks. This wasn't gradual climate change. This was a switch being flipped. One moment, Earth is warming out of the Ice Age. The next moment, it's plunged back into deep freeze for 200 years. And then comes the shocking cascade of extinctions. 35 species of megafauna giant animals that had survived for millions of years went extinct simultaneously. Not gradually, not over thousands of years. At the same time. Mammoths gone, saber-toothed tigers vanished. Giant ground sloths that stood 12 feet tall disappeared. Dire wolves extinct. American lions extinct. Short-faced bears, giant beavers, camels, horses in the Americas all gone. These animals had survived multiple ice ages, multiple climate shifts, millions of years of evolution. And then suddenly, in a geological instant, they were wiped out. The Clovis culture, the first well-documented people in the Americas, vanished at the exact same time. Not a gradual decline, they just disappeared from the archaeological record. Their distinctive spear points their tool-making traditions. Their settlements all gone. No trace, no continuation, no descendants we can identify. Something catastrophic happened. Something that killed animals and humans across an entire hemisphere. Here's the 2024 bombshell. Scientists found platinum nanodiamonds and shocked quartz in sediment layers from exactly this time period. These aren't normal materials. Platinum is rare on Earth's surface, but common in asteroids. Nanodiamonds only form under extreme pressure. Shocked quartz shows distinctive fracture patterns that only occur from massive impacts or nuclear explosions. This is the signature of a cosmic impact. The Younger Dryas impact hypothesis is now the most fiercely debated theory in modern science. Some researchers say it's proven. Others say the evidence is contaminated or misinterpreted. The arguments get heated, personal, and tense. Here's the revelation that makes the debate so fierce they can't find the crater. If something hit Earth hard enough to cause all this, where's the impact site? The answer might be simple and terrifying. It hit the ice sheet covering North America. A 2-mile thick layer of ice that melted away 10,000 years ago. If the impactor hit the ice, any crater would have melted away with it. No evidence. No smoking gun. Just the secondary effects scattered across the continent. Think about the haunting implication. If this happened to us tomorrow, a cosmic impact that destroyed our civilization, what would remain 10,000 years later? Would anyone remember us? Would there be any trace that we existed beyond scattered artifacts that future archaeologists might misinterpret? The ice core data says something massive happened. The extinction record says something killed half the large animals on the continent. The chemical signatures say something from space hit us. But the direct evidence, the crater, the impact site, it's gone, erased by the very ice sheet it destroyed. But someone remembered. Survivors remembered. They told their children, who told their children, who told theirs. The stories passed down through generations, changing, evolving, becoming myth. And we call those stories fairy tales. Every culture on Earth has a flood story. Every single culture. Why there are over 300 flood myths from cultures that never contacted each other, separated by oceans, by thousands of miles, by thousands of years. Yet, they all tell the same story. The world was destroyed by water. Almost everyone died. A few survivors rebuilt civilization. Noah's flood in Hebrew tradition. The Epic of Gilgamesh from Mesopotamia. Manu and the Great Fish in Hindu texts. Deucalion's flood in Greek mythology. Aboriginal Dreamtime stories from Australia. Hopi emergence narratives. Chinese legends of Gun Yu taming the floods. They're not copying each other. They can't be. These cultures had no contact. So what are they remembering? Here's the mind-blowing revelation. Sea levels rose 120 meters after the last ice age. 120 meters. That's a 40-story building worth of water covering what used to be dry land. The area submerged equals the entire size of Europe. Gone, underwater. This wasn't a biblical 40 days of rain. This was thousands of years of relentless sea level rise, as glaciers melted. But within that long rise, there were pulses. Sudden releases when glacial lakes burst through ice dams. Regional flooding that would have seemed apocalyptic to anyone living through it. Doggerland, the real Atlantis, once connected Britain to continental Europe. 10,000 square kilometers of plains, rivers, forests, and human settlements now sit under the North Sea. People lived there. They built communities, hunted, gathered, raised families. Then the water came. Slowly at first, then catastrophically when the final land bridge collapsed. That wasn't myth. That was Tuesday. Someone's actual Tuesday when the world ended. Here's the shocking science that proves oral traditions can preserve real information. Aboriginal Australians tell stories about coastal features and landscapes that have been underwater for 7,000 years. When scientists checked the ocean floor mapping, the stories were 100% accurate. They remembered the exact geography of places that flooded 7,000 years ago. Let that sink in. Oral tradition preserved accurate geographical details for 280 generations. So here's the scary question. If they accurately remembered coastlines from 7,000 years ago, what about the other stories? The ones about gods and giants and great civilizations that were destroyed? We dismiss those as fantasy because they sound impossible. But the coastline stories sounded impossible too until we checked. I'm not saying Atlantis was real. I'm not saying there were giants or gods or magical technologies, but I am saying something was real. Something happened. Something that traumatized our ancestors so deeply they never stopped telling the story. And somewhere in those distorted, mythologized accounts, there might be fragments of truth we've forgotten. We stopped listening because we thought we knew better. We thought myths were primitive people making up stories to explain things they didn't understand. But what if myths are primitive people desperately trying to warn us about things they understood perfectly? What if they're not fairy tales? What if they're memories? And there's one place that proves this. One place that shouldn't exist, according to everything we thought we knew about human development. But it's still there, still standing after 11,000 years. In 1963, archaeologists found a pile of stones on a hill in southeastern Turkey. They examined it briefly and concluded it was a medieval cemetery. Not worth excavating. They moved on. They were wrong by 11,000 years. In 1995, German archaeologist Klaus Schmidt looked at the same hill and saw what others had missed. The stones weren't natural. They weren't random. They were worked, shaped, deliberately placed. He started digging. What he found shattered every assumption we had about the development of human civilization. Massive stone pillars, T-shaped, precisely carved. The largest ones weigh 50 tons. 50 tons. That's 100,000 pounds of solid limestone quarried, shaped, transported, and erected with perfect precision. The carvings are intricate, sophisticated. Lions, bulls, foxes, snakes, scorpions, vultures, human figures in high relief. This isn't crude Stone Age art. This is masterwork. Carbon dating gave the impossible answer, 11,600 years old. Older than the pyramids by 7,000 years. Older than Stonehenge by 6,000 years. Older than writing, older than the wheel, older than pottery. This is the oldest known monumental structure on Earth, and here's what breaks everyone's brain. It was built by hunter-gatherers. Everything we were taught about civilization development is wrong. The story went first to agriculture, then settlements, then organized religion, then monuments. That's the progression. That's how civilization works. Agriculture creates surplus. Surplus creates specialization. Specialization creates complex society. Göbekli Tepe does it backwards. These people built the temple before they learned to farm. They carved 50-ton pillars before they invented pottery. They created sophisticated religious architecture while still living as nomadic hunters. The carbon dating is undeniable. Over 300 samples tested. Every test confirms the same impossible truth. This shouldn't exist, but it does. Here's the bombshell that makes it even stranger. After 2,000 years of use, someone deliberately buried it. They didn't abandon it to natural decay. They filled in the enclosures with thousands of tons of dirt and rubble, intentionally, carefully, completely. This wasn't destruction. This was preservation or concealment. Someone wanted to hide this place. Why? Why would people spend generations building something incredible, use it for 2,000 years, then bury it so completely it wouldn't be found for 11,000 years? What changed? What happened that made them want to erase this from history? The idea of building a temple 11,000 years ago seems crazy, but deliberately burying it afterward, that takes organization planning, coordinated effort across generations. Someone wanted this hidden, and they succeeded for 11 millennia. Here's the dark humor in it. Priorities, people. Ancient humans decided the temple was worth building, but later decided it was worth erasing. What does that tell you about what they knew that we don't? And it's not just one site. There are 20 similar locations in the region. We've excavated maybe 5% of Göbekli Tepe itself. The rest remains buried. Who knows what else is down there? What other impossible things are waiting to be found? Absence of evidence is not evidence of absence, but we keep believing it is. Here's how science works. We look for what we expect to find. We design experiments to test hypotheses we already have. We search for patterns we think should exist. This methodology is powerful, but it has a blind spot. We don't look for things we don't think exist. No scientist actively searches for evidence of ancient advanced civilizations because no one thinks they need to. The assumption is baked into the methodology. We assume we're first, so we don't design tests to check if we're wrong. Consider the Oklo natural nuclear reactor in Gabon. 2 billion years old. Naturally occurring uranium deposits that reached critical mass and sustained nuclear fission reactions for hundreds of thousands of years. This shouldn't be possible, but it happened. We discovered it by accident in 1972 when French scientists noticed uranium ore had already been partially depleted. Nobody was looking for natural nuclear reactors because nobody thought they could exist. We found it by luck, not by design. Here's the shocking implication. If natural nuclear reactors can exist, how would we distinguish them from artificial ones after 100 million years? Both would leave radioactive isotope signatures. Both would show depleted uranium. Both would have similar chemical fingerprints. The only way to tell them apart would be through context, through structure, through surrounding evidence. But if that evidence has been eroded, subducted, or metamorphosed, what's left? The strongest argument against previous civilizations is simple, easy resources are still here. We found coal and oil near the surface. If someone had industrialized before us, they would have extracted these resources. The fact that they were waiting for us proves nobody came before. This argument sounds solid, but it has caveats. A civilization that existed before the Carboniferous period, before the great forests that became coal even existed, would have had no fossil fuels to extract. A civilization that developed different energy technologies, solar, geothermal, nuclear fusion, wouldn't need coal and oil. Different technology leaves different traces. We're looking for a civilization like ours. But what if they were nothing like us? Here's the philosophical question that should haunt you. Are we confident we're unique because we have evidence? Or are we just comforting ourselves? Are we looking at the data objectively? Or are we interpreting it to match what we want to believe? Science is supposed to be objective. But scientists are human. Humans have biases, assumptions, blind spots. We see what we expect to see. We find what we're looking for. And we rarely question whether we're looking in the right places for the right things. This story doesn't have a happy ending or a scary ending. It has an uncertain ending. And that's actually the scariest thing. We don't know. We can't know for sure. The past is fragmented, incomplete, potentially unreadable. We're reconstructing history from 0.01% of the data. What are we missing in the other 99.99%? But there's one place where evidence never gets erased. One place where the geological recycling machine can't reach. One place where traces could survive for billions of years, perfectly preserved. And we haven't looked closely enough yet. We are leaving traces. The question isn't whether we'll be remembered. The question is what story those traces will tell about us. Here are the devastating specifications. We produce 400 million tons of plastic every year. 400 million tons. This plastic doesn't biodegrade in any meaningful time frame. It breaks into smaller pieces, microplastics, nanoplastics, but the polymers persist. They're being incorporated into sediment layers right now, creating a global stratigraphic marker. Future geologists will find a thin layer of synthetic polymers spread across the entire planet, a plastic horizon that marks our existence. Plutonium-239 from nuclear weapons testing is our permanent signature. We detonated over 2,000 nuclear devices in the atmosphere between 1945 and 1963. The radioactive fallout spread globally, settling into soil-ocean sediments ice cores. Plutonium-239 has a half-life of 24,000 years. Its decay products will remain detectable for hundreds of thousands of years. This is a marker that cannot be erased, cannot be misinterpreted, cannot be explained by natural processes. And we're causing extinctions 1,000 times faster than the natural background rate. 1,000 times. Species that took millions of years to evolve are disappearing in decades. The biodiversity loss we're causing will show up in the fossil record as clearly as any asteroid impact. Let's compare this to the 5 great extinctions in Earth's history. The Ordovician extinction 4.4 million years ago killed 85% of marine species. The Devonian extinction 375 million years ago devastated coral reefs and fish populations. The Permian extinction 252 million years ago, the worst in history, killed 96% of all species. The Great Dying. The Triassic extinction 201 million years ago reset terrestrial ecosystems. The Cretaceous extinction 66 million years ago ended the dinosaurs. We are the 6th great extinction. We're doing this right now. This isn't future speculation. This is present reality. Here's the terrifying revelation: 100 million years from now, our signature will look identical to the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs. A thin layer enriched in unusual elements, a carbon isotope spike indicating massive organic carbon release, a sudden collapse in biodiversity, a boundary marking the end of one world and the beginning of another. Carbon spike check. Mass extinction check. Radioactive layer check. These markers are indistinguishable from natural catastrophes. Future geologists examining our era wouldn't necessarily recognize an industrial civilization. They'd see a disaster, an event, a boundary. Here's the haunting question. If we found this exact signature 100 million years ago, would we call it a civilization? Or would we just call it a natural catastrophe and move on? Think about that. We might be looking at evidence of previous civilizations and classifying them as volcanic events, impact events, natural climate shifts. Not because we're stupid, but because the signatures are the same. Destruction looks like destruction regardless of what caused it. The dark humor in this is almost too perfect. Leonardo da Vinci's legacy. The Mona Lisa gone in a few thousand years. Einstein's legacy. ERMC2 forgotten if civilization collapses. Your legacy: a 2-centimeter layer of plastic and sedimentary rock that will outlast everything humanity ever created. Your trash will outlive your children's children, and 1,000 generations beyond them. The bag you used for 10 minutes will exist for 10 million years. But here's something you need to understand. There's still hope. The story isn't finished yet. We're writing it right now, every day, with every choice we make. The ending isn't predetermined. Humanity stands at a fork in the road. 2 possible futures, 2 different stories written in stone. Scenario 1. Collapse. We continue as we are. Business as usual. Burn fossil fuels, ignore. Warming prioritize short-term profit over long-term survival. This path leads to collapse within 100 to 200 years. Maybe sooner. The markers we leave in the geological record would read like this: extinction event caused by intelligent species. The signature would be clear. Rapid carbon injection. Temperature spike. Ocean acidification. Mass extinction. Radioactive isotopes. Plastic layer. Synthetic chemicals. All concentrated in a thin sedimentary layer representing a few hundred years of industrial activity. Future observers, if any exist, would study this boundary with the same detached scientific interest we use when examining the dinosaur extinction. They'd write papers about it, they'd debate the exact timeline, they'd marvel at how quickly it happened, and they'd wonder what kind of species destroys its own habitat. Here's the chilling part. We would become a cautionary tale, a warning written in rock. A species that reached intelligence, developed technology, and failed the test. Evidence that the Great Filter exists, and that we didn't make it through. Scenario 2. Evolution. We change course. Not easy change, not comfortable change, but necessary change. We build a sustainable civilization that works with Earth's systems instead of against them. We stabilize carbon emissions, restore ecosystems, develop clean energy, expand beyond Earth. This path is harder, requires sacrifice, demands cooperation. But it's possible. The markers we'd leave would tell a different story. Controlled carbon levels that stabilize, biodiversity that begins recovering, technological advancement that continues beyond the crisis point. Evidence that an intelligent species recognized the danger and adapted. We'd become an example instead of a warning. Proof that intelligent life can pass through the Great Filter. That consciousness and technology don't inevitably lead to self-destruction. Let me explain the Kardashev scale. It's a way of measuring a civilization's technological advancement based on energy use. Type 1, civilization harnesses all available energy from its home planet. Type 2 harnesses the energy of its star. Type 3 harnesses the energy of its entire galaxy. We're currently at about 0.7 on this scale, not even type 1 yet. We're in the dangerous transition period where we have enough technology to destroy ourselves, but not enough wisdom to manage it safely. Most civilizations, if they exist, probably die at this stage. They reach type 0. 7 develop nuclear weapons and fossil fuel dependency, destabilize their climate, and collapse before reaching type 1. The transition from type 0 to type 1 is the Great Filter. Most species don't make it through. Here's the destiny-defining question. Is the Great Filter behind us or ahead of us? Have we already passed the hardest test by evolving intelligence? Or is the hardest test still coming, the test of whether intelligence leads to wisdom or just to faster self-destruction? This story began with questions about the past, about whether previous civilizations existed, about what happened to them if they did. But from the beginning, it was always about the future, about us, about what we choose to become. We're not passive observers studying ancient mysteries. We're active participants writing the next chapter. The rocks are watching. Time is recording. What story do we want to tell? And there's one final question, the most important question of all. The question isn't, were there civilizations before us? That's what we've been asking, but it's the wrong question. Here's the real question. Are we going to be the last civilization? Let that reframe sink in completely. We've spent all this time looking backward, wondering if we're alone in Earth's history. But the future is what matters. The past is written. The future is still blank pages waiting for ink. Consider the Fermi paradox. Enrico Fermi asked the famous question, where is everybody? The universe should be teeming with intelligent life. There are 400 billion stars in the Milky Way alone. Billions of potentially habitable planets. If intelligent life is common, if civilizations arise regularly, where are they? Where are the radio signals? Where are the megastructures? Where is any evidence that we're not alone? The universe is silent. Dead silent. No transmissions, no contact, no artifacts, nothing. There are many possible explanations for the silence. Maybe life is rare. Maybe intelligence is rare. Maybe we're looking in the wrong way, or listening at the wrong frequencies. Or maybe, and this is the chilling implication, the great filter is ahead of us. Maybe every civilization reaches our level of technology and then destroys itself. Maybe the universe is silent because everyone fails the test. Maybe we're not hearing anyone because there's no one left to transmit. They all burned too bright and too fast, just like we're doing now. Remember earlier when I said, there's one place evidence never gets erased, the moon. Mars. Places without geological recycling. Evidence on those worlds could survive billions of years. And we've barely looked. We've examined maybe 0.01% of the solar system's surface. What might be waiting out there that we haven't found yet. But here's what matters more than past civilizations. We have 100 to 200 years to decide our future. That's not speculation. That's climate science resource, depletion, projections, biodiversity, loss calculations. We're in the critical window right now. And let's be clear about what we're saving. It's not the planet. The planet will be fine. Earth has survived 5 mass extinctions. It recovered every time. Life adapts, evolves, fills empty niches. Give it a few million years and Earth will be thriving again, regardless of what we do. We're not saving the planet, we're saving ourselves. Earth has existed for 4.5 billion years. It will exist for another 4.5 billion years until the sun expands and swallows it. The question isn't whether Earth survives. The question is whether we're there for any of that future. Will our descendants see the sun go red, giant? Will we spread to other stars? Will we become something greater than we can currently imagine? Or will we just be a thin layer in the rock, a brief flash of intelligence that burned out in the cosmic blink of an eye? Here's the lighter humor to end on, if we do this right. Maybe 100 million years from now, someone will find this video in the sediment layers. Hi aliens. Sorry about all the plastic. We were young and stupid. We figured it out eventually. We hope you do too. The stone is waiting. Time keeps flowing forward regardless of what we do. Every day, every choice, every action is being recorded. What story will we write? The choice is ours. But the stone will remember forever.